What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to episode 2 of the No Huddle Necessary show. Finally here, football. We are less than 24 hours away from football, ladies and gentlemen. And I am super excited. We have a great panel of guests lined up today. Thank you all so much for joining us. So let's go ahead and introduce you guys to the panel. As you all know, this is No Huddle, joined by myself, a bunch of nuts and bolts sports writers and guests of the show, friends of the show, basically talking about all of the latest football topics, giving you our ideas, how we feel about certain things. So I hope you guys sit back and enjoy. Let's go ahead and introduce the panel. The man who was about 30 minutes late last week, but was about 20 minutes early today. He got in here making up for it, and that is Bill Carroll. Bill, how we doing today?
Well, first of all, you have to be coachable. And whenever that, it's okay to make a mistake, but never make the same mistake twice. So that's what I will never make the same mistake twice.
There you go. Listen, Bill, we love having you. There's no animosity in my heart for you. You know that. Next up, we have Keith Richards pulling up in the house. How are we doing today, Keith? Big Daddy.
Back again.
Babyless today, apparently.
Babyless today. We'll see.
Alrighty. And then we have the prodigal son making his long-awaited return. Thomas back in the house. Haven't seen your face in quite some time. Very happy to see you. Very happy to see you're doing well. How are we feeling today?
We're doing fantastic, guys. Thank you for the welcome. Good to be on the show once again. And let's do the show. Let's do what we always do. Let's do it.
Absolutely. And our final guest, he is not a part of the Nuts and Bolts sports team, but he is family as far as I'm concerned. Friend of mine, Georgia State alumni, just like myself. He and I have worked together many times before. That is Malik Brown. Malik, thank you so much for being on the show. How you feeling today?
Man, I appreciate you for letting me come on, bro. Like I said, we got GSU ties, we got ties, so I'm ready to toss the football, bro. I'm ready.
Absolutely. Well, I've introduced the panel, so I guess we can go ahead and get into these topics. Let's go ahead and get into the first quarter. Alrighty, so first up, and we're gonna start with Malik here. Malik, I know how much the Atlanta Falcons mean to you. Okay, and I couldn't help but while watching this preseason and even during the draft, a lot of teams, when you look around the league, are starting to get those young quarterbacks in. And I was a firm believer that the Falcons would be one of those teams. I thought the Falcons would move on from both Matt Ryan and Julio Jones this offseason. They moved on from Julio. They kept Matt Ryan. Had an opportunity to draft someone like a Mac Jones, like a Justin Fields. And they elected to go with Kyle Pitts, who, granted, will probably be a once-in-a-generation type tight end. But was it the right move going Kyle Pitts instead of thinking about the future of this franchise and getting a quarterback?
They made the wrong move. And I'm the guy that was on the Matt Ryan bandwagon. Like, every time somebody was giving Matt Ryan some slander or whatnot, or attacking him or saying he doesn't do this or that, I was like, Matt Ryan is a solid quarterback. Like, do you guys not know what he's done for this franchise for years? But it was probably mid-season last year, or probably not even mid-season. It was probably like, I remember the game specifically. It was the game against the Chargers. And I maybe watched the first half, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, yeah, it's time. It's time for another quarterback. So, of course, they bring in the new staff and organization. They bring in Arthur Smith. They bring in Terry. They bring in all these new guys. And, you hear the rumblings and stuff of they don't know what to do. Terry's thinking of going to quarterback. Arthur's thinking of staying with Matt Ryan. So now it's kind of like, oh, what are we doing here? And you saw they went with Kyle Pitts, and like you said, generational. They call him a unicorn, but at the same time, you had a chance to get the hometown kid. Could have got the hometown kid in Justin Fields. And I'm not sure if it was the best decision. I mean, of course we understand Kyle Pitts is once in a lifetime. He can do this and that. He's built like a Julio Jones, but it kind of feels like the Falcons organization was still stuck on trying to find the next Julio Jones and not trying to find the next person that should be behind Matt Ryan. Like you said, they have all these new quarterbacks in these new cities now. So it's like, what are the Falcons going to do in this next draft? What if they're not able to get a quarterback? Who are they going to get? And it seems like Atlanta sports always does this thing where the team always doesn't go for the player that the fans want. And it's not the fans' perspective, but at the same time, they're not looking towards the future. They're still looking into the now. And right now, the Falcons are not a team that should be looking at the now. They're not a good team. If you look at the depth chart, it's not really many that good players on the team right now. You got Calvin Ridley, of course. You got Pitts. You got Debo and Grady Jarrett and AJ Terrell on defense. There's five to six players. What about these other players? Like, and it takes a time to build an organization, of course, but doesn't it always start with the quarterback? If I'm not mistaken, like, come on now. We don't even know. We know what Kyle Pitts did in college, but we don't know what he's going to do in the NFL yet because for some apparent reason, he only caught one ball in the preseason, and he only was on the field maybe once or twice. So right now, we don't know what the Falcons organization is doing. We don't know what Arthur Smith's doing. Maybe we'll have more sense of what's going to happen week one and as the weeks go on. But right now, I'm still stuck on the Falcons could have got a quarterback.
Bill, let's go to you. How do you feel about the Falcons and their decision to go with Kyle Pitts instead of one of these young quarterbacks?
So Matthew Thomas Ryan was born on May the 7th, 1985. And you may think, oh, gosh, that's old. But just as a reminder, Aaron Charles Rodgers was born on December the 2nd of 1983. And Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. was born August the 3rd of 1977. So there was a time whenever a quarterback got to be about 35, 36, you would immediately know they were about to be done. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, people used to marvel at Fran Tarkenton playing halfway decently into his deep 30s, and that was almost never done. But times have changed. The rules have changed. And quarterbacks who can get the ball out can play a long, long time, and they don't take the hits that they used to. Now, they're gambling. It's a calculated risk. I'm not saying I would have done it, but they were convinced that they had a better chance of finding a solid starter at quarterback than finding, people use terms like unicorn or generational. They felt like Kyle Pitts was a player they wouldn't see again, perhaps for a very long time. And they felt like they had a chance to get a quarterback they liked as much as any of the quarterbacks in this draft, right? That is what they were gambling on. They're saying Mac Jones or whoever it was they would have had. Obviously, there was a mention of, the local kid, right? They had a chance to even get Justin Fields, but they felt like, we'll see if they're right or wrong, they could have gotten a quarterback they liked just as much in the next draft. Now, obviously, if they end up not finding a quarterback, or if the quarterback they do end up drafting ends up not panning out, they will have rolled snake eyes. If they do find a quarterback to pair with that dynamic talent they have in Kyle Pitts and a very solid receiver in Calvin Ridley, and they add around it, they could have pieces that when they do bring a young quarterback, instead of him coming into a situation where he's got very few weapons, he can come into a talent-rich organization if they play their cards right. But it's a risk. It's a gamble. We'll see if it works out.
Keith, let's hear from you.
It's hard to say that you make a mistake when you draft a player like Kyle Pitts, but I think they made a huge mistake. I mean, if you've seen the show before, there's two quarterbacks that I just don't care too much for. We'll even call it one now. I'm not going to hate on Baker Mayfield this season. He's earned my respect, but Matt Ryan will never earn my respect. I mean, he's a conundrum. His numbers aren't bad. He hasn't thrown for less than 4,000 yards in almost 10 seasons, but outside of that Super Bowl running day that they had, what has he really done that has wowed anyone, or you say he makes this team that much better? And especially when you take into the account just how deep the quarterback class was in this previous draft. Even if they didn't think they were going to start any of those rookie quarterbacks right away, which I'm also a person that doesn't think that every single rookie needs to play right away, it would have been a perfect situation for them to draft a rookie quarterback, let him sit for a season, maybe two, because Matt Ryan, even though he's not going to win the Super Bowl, he's not going to completely tank the team either. I mean, they might not get an opportunity like they had this season, picking where they did to pick up a talented quarterback that could lead this team forward. I mean, look at who's in the draft next year. The only name that really jumps off the page is Spencer Rattler. And he almost certainly, if the season goes the way everyone thinks it will go at number one. They're not picking first. Everyone knows the Giants are going to be picking first. Like, Spencer Rattler's not going to be there. But there's really not anyone else behind him. You have the quarterback from North Carolina, the kid from Liberty. Not really anyone you want to write home about. So it was a great opportunity that they missed. Matt Ryan's contract is hard to move, but I guarantee if they would have put some feelers out there, there's 4 or 5 teams that would have gave them some great capital back for Matt Ryan that they could have used to either trade up into the draft and get another quarterback, get another first-round pick next year. It just doesn't seem like they did a whole lot to address the future of the team, who obviously is not Matt Ryan, but now it makes building the team in the future that much harder because there's really not very many people who they have to build a future with. If you're going to count on free agency, I think that's a bad bet. There's been some great free agency stories in the recent history when the Broncos got Peyton, the Bucks with Tom Brady, but I think that's rare. You can't really bank on getting a franchise quarterback in free agency these days, and your best opportunity is to get it in the draft, and they push that down the road, and I think it's going to bite them.
No love for Matt Ryan out of Keith. I wish you all would have been able to see Malik's face when Keith kind of started going off on Matt Ryan. It was pretty funny. Thomas, your go.
Malik, buddy, new friend. I'm here to bear some good news. Okay. I want to put some stuff into perspective when it comes to Matt Ryan because I'm hearing a lot of not so good things about the man. So, if you consider his contract, right, the Falcons would have to struggle with him financially, which is why the whole debate behind Julio and himself trying to figure out what to do. That was the talk all offseason, okay? Here's the thing. He has 3 years left on his current deal. If they were to cut him or trade him or whatever case may be, if he was no longer on the roster, regardless of whether it was before June 1st or after June 1st, the Falcons would still have to take $25 million in dead cap money. Like they already had cap problems before Julio, and they're having cap problems still. And it's not all because of Matt Ryan. So that's number one. Number two is let's not sit here and act like Matt Ryan's a bad quarterback. I still believe he's very productive, despite inconsistency. Let's keep in mind, as much as we love Julio Jones, he can't stay healthy for a full season. Matt Ryan knows that, but he knows that he has to stay healthy for a full season if he wants to be productive. If he knows that the franchise can trust him, he knows he has to stay healthy. I haven't heard 1 ounce of injury report with Matt Ryan's name on it, probably since college. And it was probably because he had the flu or some type of illness, or whatever case may be. It was something light, and he was able to come back in the fourth quarter. Okay? That's how durable Matt Ryan is. All right? Last season, he threw for 4,500 yards, okay, 26 touchdowns, averaged a QB rating of 93.3, right? Now, that's just Matt Ryan. I want to take it a step further. What about the QBs that were selected this year? I have questions for all of them. Okay, since we're doing questions and everything. Can Trevor Lawrence make the Jags watchable? I don't know. Can Zach Wilson win with a rookie head coach? I don't know. Is Trey Lance ready to be a starting quarterback in this league? I don't know. Is Mac Jones going to lead the Pats to the playoffs? I know they're going to win games. Are they going to go to the playoffs? Especially with Buffalo in the same division and Miami's having a good defense and a good roster altogether. Could they make the playoffs still? I don't know. So, last but not least, what about the hometown kid, Justin Fields himself? When is he going to start? And if so, when is the perfect time to do so? There's so many questions around these quarterbacks that it doesn't provide a whole lot of certainty. And with Matt Ryan, he's going to, at the very least, be durable, and he's not going to be the problem. Now, there is, like I said, inconsistency last year. He didn't have a running game. Julio didn't show up pretty much. Offensive line was trash. The defense couldn't step up. So I'm saying all these things because it wasn't all Ryan's fault. And I would say, I wouldn't say keep him for all 3 years, but he still shows year in and year out that he's not the issue. And when you're not the issue, can't go wrong with that. That's all.
Yeah, I don't think anyone made Malik happy this segment. I don't think anyone made Malik happy.
Not really. I tried.
Well, Thomas, I can answer one of your questions, though. Justin Fields isn't starting because Matt Nagy doesn't know what the hell he's doing, and Matt Nagy is... that's a separate conversation. But
that's a separate conversation. Yeah. Yeah.
I think had he been anywhere else, he would be the starter.
For sure.
But I do think that we've seen this play out before, right? Like, I think Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. But he is at the end of his ropes, and he's on a bad contract at this point. And yes, you have a lot of things that you had to get as far as cap problems situated. But this group of quarterbacks looks like they're going to be special. Granted, we've only seen them in preseason, but this looks like one of those draft classes that we're going to look back on and be like, wow, all of these guys came out in 1 year. I don't see that out of anyone next season. Like I said, Spencer Rattler is probably going to go number 1 overall when, in all honesty, he shouldn't even be taken in the first round.
So have none of you seen Carson Strong? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
No, I haven't.
A little bit.
Tell us about Carson Strong, please. Please tell us. I need to know. I need hope.
Okay, so in terms of making throws deep down the field, outside the numbers, across over the middle, being able to read disguise coverages, being able to throw touch passes, he's better than anybody you've named so far in the draft class. If you haven't been watching Carson Strong, then what are you doing with your lives?
Oh boy, that's not good.
My Falcons group chat about him real quick. Carson Strong.
There you go. Listen,
University of Nevada.
Bill is one of our draft experts. He is a football historian and genius. So he is going to pull all of the names that you probably have never heard of, and 9 times out of 10, he will be right about them.
Yeah, I believe it. 1,000%.
I don't dislike some of the other guys that you've named, but they're not as ready. They don't show the ability to throw with touch and anticipation. I love Malik Willis, but he's a total project. Rattler is a guy who throws every pass the same way, which works sometimes. Desmond Ridder is sort of like a slightly slower version of Kaepernick, but he's got talent. He's tough as nails. He's got a huge arm, and he's not as fast as Kaepernick, but a tough runner who can get you yards. There's a lot of projects, but the guy who's the most ready to go is Carson Strong.
Alrighty, and with that being said, let's go to the second quarter. Alrighty, so there was something that happened this offseason that I felt was horrendous on the NFL side. I thought it was a terrible decision. I thought it made absolutely no sense, and that was the point of emphasis on taunting. We've seen it rear its ugly head in the postseason to the point where some guys actually were fined. Again, ridiculous. I ask you all, is this going to be a problem moving forward? Why is the league doing this? Are they trying to get back to the no fun league that it was a couple years ago? Keith, we'll start with you.
What are they doing? That is a great question. This would have been a great week to have me and Greg on at the same time, because all we do on Sunday on Twitter is complain about how terrible the officials are. And that is not going to get any better this season with this taunting rule. It's something that's far too subjective. We've seen with these NFL officials, the more subjective a call is, the more they will make the call and the more they will be wrong about making that call. I understand that officials are human. They're going to make mistakes. I am still not in a camp that officials are causing teams to lose games. I still think we have a ways before we get there. That being said, it's still too close for comfort. The more they keep putting officials in a position to make terrible calls, the closer and closer we get to officials causing teams to lose games. The NFL, NBA, NHL, professional sports, they are emotional things. These people are getting paid a lot of money to do really well in whatever their profession is. Are we going to start throwing penalties for when someone gives an emphatic fist pump after making a big play in a playoff game, and then their team loses 15 yards and a 45-yard field goal becomes a 60-yard field goal? It's just in the heat of the moment, players are going to be emotional. Whether that's taunting, it's too subjective to say whether they're trying to show up their opponent or if they're just happy that they sacked Tom Brady in the NFC Championship game. It's just too much on the officials who struggle with the simple things, and it's going to backfire on them real quick.
Thomas, your go.
Okay, ladies and gents, let's all sit around for a little bit. Do y'all know how fun it is to play football when you were a kid? It was fantastic. You had your friends. You would run plays that you didn't even know existed in the playbook. Throw the ball around, run around, hit stick each other, stiff arm each other, juke them out their shoes, X, Y, and Z. And then you get in this imaginary end zone. And who would have thought that when you grow up, when you get in this imaginary end zone, all the refs and all the league wants you to do is to pull a Barry Sanders, give the ball to the ref, and go to the sideline. That is so fun. In case you didn't catch on, that is very sarcastic of me. So here's the deal, right? It's apparent that I think the NFL doesn't want to make more money. And what I mean by that is, if you think about the celebrations, it's more than just, oh, it's a taunting against the opponent. It's making the opponent feel bad. It's putting the opponents in their feelings. Whatever the case may be, right? I'll tell you right now, as a brand, how much money do you think Justin Jefferson would have made if he wasn't doing that gritty celebration in the end zone. I'll tell you right now, he would not be as known as he is right now. He'd be known for his productivity last year, but that'll be about it. He is so worldly renowned for one move, one signature move. Now, granted, everybody else does it, but he made it look very well done. He got the whole team doing it, fantastic. And it's getting to a point now where I think it's moments where you got Tyreek Hill doing the peace sign because he's blazing past everybody because they don't know how to stop him every once in a while. So when you have cases like the Super Bowl where Antoine Winfield picks off Patrick Mahomes or whatever the case may be, he's doing the peace sign. Now all of a sudden we want to have a whole issue with taunting. It's mind-boggling to me. It sounds like a bunch of owners, those who have a little bit more hearsay than the commissioner, if you ask me. They don't want it to be fun. They prefer, the strict side of things, and it was fine to do that in its own time. But I feel like in the day and age that we're in now, where literally you could become more profitable and more marketable by letting the fans know that, hey, when you come to these games, these players are having fun and they could fully express themselves and fully enjoy themselves. That is marketable. That's why the NBA is what the NBA is, because they allow their players to be marketable. They allow their players to speak out on different situations. They allow them to celebrate. How many times have you seen everybody do the shrug? Everybody's done the shrug at least once. Even if you haven't seen basketball, you can see them do the shrug. I can go on and on and on. List celebrations that have caused people to want to watch more or make them become their favorite players because now they're interested on what they see. They're waiting to see what next dance is going to be. But now this season, what it looks like, I kind of hope it ends. But, it's one of those things where it's like, you kind of have to wait out and see. So we'll have to wait and see.
Bill, you're up.
Okay, so here's what I will tell you. For those who are, okay, I guess you mentioned I'm a bit of a historian, but think about this. He just mentioned the Jordan shrug. Imagine if Muhammad Ali had never been able to say, I float like a butterfly and sting like a bee. If he hadn't been allowed to say, hey, gorilla, we're in Manila. Imagine if Terrell Owens, right, hadn't been allowed to do, a bunch of things that he did. Joe Horn isn't able to pull a cell phone out of his sock. And Sharpie, obviously, with Terrell Owens. What if Billy White Shoes Johnson didn't get to the funky chicken? The history of sports as we know it would be radically different if every sport was tennis, right? If every sport was golf. If every sport was, well done, sir. Yes, well played. I mean, I get sportsmanship. I think we should try to stay down the lane in terms of good sportsmanship. That's important. But if you think chucking the deuces someone is taunting, I mean, my God, you clearly have only been to certain neighborhoods, if you know what I'm saying. Like, there's things you apparently have never done if you think that's taunting. If you think that's taunting, woo! I mean, there's a playground around the corner from my house where you would never want to see what goes on on that basketball court if you think that's taunting. So I want us to preserve certain things in the game. I want sportsmanship to be an important part of the game. But if you think literally chucking the deuces at somebody is a problem, buddy, like, where have you been? What have you been doing? I mean, how sheltered are you to think that's the problem with football? A team where a sport where people are unfortunately and sadly unable to even care for themselves later in life sometimes. But the thing where I love how the NFL always figures out how to solve the problems the game doesn't have, right? They can't fix the problems the game has. They haven't fixed that part. We can't guarantee lifetime health care for guys that have played the game and are now destitute and unable to care for themselves. That's a problem that needs fixing. Not going to fix that. We're going to fix a problem that nobody has asked us to fix. Well done.
NFL stands for No Fun League. We all know this now. Malik, you go.
Yeah, we need to just sit back and just think about what happened this offseason. The NFL really the committee just went into a building, went into an office, and was like, you know what, guys? Let's take away fun. Fun doesn't seem right. I don't like the way Tyreek Hill does this after he scores a touchdown. I don't like when a defensive lineman gets a sack and steps up and does his little two-step. Well, that's too much fun, y'all. It is crazy because the taunts that these NFL players are doing now are not the same. Like Terrell Owens isn't going to come out on this field and just come out on the star and do his little thing like he did, or throw popcorn in his helmet or whatnot, or nobody's going to come down and act like they're pantsing. Like they're not doing that anymore. It's fun, and it just seems like you can't do any of that. And it kind of reminds me of how sometimes the NBA does these things as well. They do the same thing. I remember a couple of times. I remember Trae Young last year in the conference finals. He did this to the referee, and the referee, I guess, caught an attitude or whatnot and gave him a tech. Like, what is that? Why is that so offensive to you? I mean, yeah, you probably did miss the call, but you're that bothered. It doesn't make any sense how these leagues now just won't let these players have fun. This is something that these players have been they've been playing these sports since they were young little kids. Like, and what do kids do? They have fun. They grow up, they learn these new dances or whatnot, and they want to do them on the field. Odell Beckham is notorious for it. Cam Newton came out, was dabbing and doing all of this when he was scoring touchdowns, and the fans loved it. Shoot, more people were doing it because of him. Now it's kind of like these players are being put in a box. They're being confined because of a little dance or a little peace sign. Like, come on, I don't understand. It doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, this is one of those rules again, and Bill, I think you said it perfectly. The NFL does a great job at fixing the problems that no one cares about. We can't fix the problems that are real problems, but the things that aren't problems at all, we got those nipped in the bud right away. It's been like that for quite some time, unfortunately. I hope this does not play a factor deep into the season. Like I said, we typically know how these points of emphasis work. They get tested out during the preseason. We'll maybe see a couple calls in the first 3 weeks, and then after that, it'll be history. So that's what I'm hoping happens. We shall see. But we're going to take a quick commercial break here, and we'll get back at it to the third quarter. But let's take a quick commercial break for halftime.
The Team Nuts and Bolts Sports Store is officially open. Log on to www.teamnbsmerch.com and get your t-shirts, hoodies, polos, all sizes available. Once again, log on to teamnbsmerch.com. Get yours today.
All right, and we are back after the quick commercial break here. So had some pretty serious topics that we talked about, obviously a little passionate here. I want to have some fun now in the second half. So I'm going to throw this question out to you all, and you all tell me how you feel about it. We're going to play a little game of what is more likely. And we're going to start with Thomas. So Thomas, I'm going to ask you, what is more likely? The Chiefs and the Super Bowl, the Chiefs and the Bucks both make it to the Super Bowl again, or neither one of them make it to the Super Bowl?
I'm gonna be honest here. I think I've been honest all the time, but I have my little slip-ups here and there. I'm gonna go with neither. Okay, I believe that last time I checked, injury is a huge part of this game, and it could affect an aging Bucks team that has a roster that doesn't have a whole lot of people under 25 on it. And then I can't stress enough how I feel about the Chiefs defense. Even though they were top 10 in most categories last season, I can't trust them against a high-powered offense against the Buffalo or Cleveland or a team like that. It's just they didn't improve on that side of the ball, and I think when you consider that, when you look at the NFC, there are teams that could give the Bucks a run for their money. None of them are as complete as the Bucks. None of them are as veteran savvy as the Bucks. None of them are a complete certainty that you trust and know for sure that they would at the very least make it to the NFC Championship game more than the Bucks. So the NFC, I don't necessarily have to worry about the Bucks in that regard. However, in the AFC, in probably the most star-studded conference known to mankind every year, could I see a Cleveland team that has a full roster? Could I see them knocking off the Kansas City Chiefs? Push them to the limit last year. Could they actually beat them? Sure. Wouldn't surprise me. Would a team like Buffalo that also played against the Kansas City Chiefs last year, they didn't really have much of a solid front seven to defend against Patrick Mahomes last year. They got it now. Could I see them along with the high-powered offense? I could definitely see Buffalo beating the Chiefs. And a lot of times, you look at, it's Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, and they got a fresh offensive line. That's great, and I know they're going to put up at least 25 points a game. Great. However, when it gets cold, when you need to run the ball and you need to stop the run, can you count on the defense to stop the run? And my answer is no. Can I rely on the Bucks to do that? They have the veteran leadership to do that, so I know they're capable of doing that. And I saw them do it last year, and they just brought everybody back. So I'm just basically watching. If I ever were to be a team to watch some film, I'll basically watch everything from last year, literally, because everybody's back. So with that being said, I would definitely go with neither because there's no certainty on the AFC side of things. So there you go.
Okay. Keith, we're going to come right back to you. What is more likely? Both teams make it or neither?
I for the most part try to be rational about things, but I'm gonna put on my tinfoil hat for a second and say it is more likely that both teams make it back to the Super Bowl. From a rational standpoint, a lot is always said about the Chiefs' defense, and for the most part, outside of the Super Bowl last year, it really hasn't mattered. That their defense is not an elite defense. Their defense is good enough to not completely throw away a game and let Patrick Mahomes come in and do his thing. But one of the very first shows of No Huddle Necessary, I had to quote Wu-Tang Clan, and I'm going to quote them again. Cash rules everything around me. What is the best way the NFL can make as much money as possible? And that is for a rematch of the Bucks and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm not saying that they're going to make that happen, but if there's a situation to where there's one call that needs to be made that favors Tom Brady, God knows we've seen that 500 times with Tom Brady, or is there a call that needs to be made to favor Patrick Mahomes for them to have that rematch? They're going to have that rematch. That being said, I don't think many teams got that much better in the AFC to overcome the Chiefs. I mean, there are teams that are good defensively, but we live in an era of NFL where offense is what they want to see. Offense is what they're going to lean toward. They can do whatever they want to try to make it easier for defensive players, but they're always going to go back to offense because that's where they make their money. The Bucks were the best team when it mattered in the NFC. I don't think anyone got close to being better than them last offseason. Just from a rational standpoint, I don't think there's any team in either conference that surpassed the Bucks or the Chiefs. And from a conspiracy standpoint, who doesn't want to see a rematch in the Super Bowl?
Very good. Malik, which is more likely? Both teams make it or neither?
I'm gonna go both. Like you said, like on either side of the NFC and the AFC, there's not really anybody that I saw make any moves all season that was like, oh yeah, they got a good chance, they got a great chance. I mean, we're talking about the Bills. Of course, I think they have the closest shot to beating the Chiefs, but at the end of the day, I just feel like the Chiefs they out to get revenge after what happened in the last Super Bowl. So I mean, they were already a high-powered offense. I'm sure they're going to do the same thing this season as well. And we always talk about the defense, but it seems like in the Super Bowl, it's always the highest-rated defense versus the highest-rated offense or whatnot. And the Chiefs fit in the highest-rated offense or whatnot. So I'm definitely going to put them in that slot. I don't really see anybody else outside of the Bills really giving the Chiefs any problems. Like, I mean, I don't trust the Ravens. I don't trust the Browns. Even though they did step up, I mean, I feel like they may be third. But, I mean, then you have, Steelers. I may be missing somebody. But those are really the only teams that are coming to my mind right now that could actually give them a run for the money. And the Bills are the closest. So, and, I mean, I understand why we're so sold in the Bills, but the Chiefs have been showing us consistency for these past 3 seasons. So, oh yeah, shout out to Arwell. He's saying the Falcons going all the way this year. He's lying, guys. He's lying. But, so on the other side, I mean, you have the NFC and you have the Bucks. This is more questionable to me than the AFC. I don't know who's next up to take that shot at the Bucks. I'm a big Packers guy, but I don't know if they're going to be able to get back. And then you have teams like maybe Seattle. You have Cardinals. You have maybe San Fran, Cowboys. But all of these teams I'm naming, like, it's not anything like, oh yeah, they got a real good shot against the Bucks. It's nothing like that. Like the Bucks brought back literally everybody they had from last season, and they were dominant in the Super Bowl. And one thing I'm not going to do is count out Tom Brady. And if y'all know why. If you know, you know. So that's all I'm saying. Like right now, it just doesn't seem like anybody's taking that step. And I'm gonna go both.
All right, Bill. Which is more likely?
Neither, because of math. So here's the number of teams that have gone back-to-back and won. In Super Bowl 1 and 2, the Green Bay Packers, right? I think everybody remembers, but not everybody remembers that, but everybody knows that. And then we have those Shula Dolphins go back-to-back at 72 and 73. And then we have 2 back-to-backs by the Steelers, broken up by I think the Raiders in between in a 5-year period. And then we have to go all the way from them all the way to the Dallas Cowboys. And then we have this one's for John, right? We have Denver back-to-back, 32 and 30, Super Bowls 32 and 33. And the last one, right, almost 20 years ago, we have the Patriots going back-to-back in Super Bowls 38 and 39. And in terms of teams that went back-to-back and lost, only a couple, right? The Vikings, and I was a Vikings fan, so trust me, I remember this all too well, got pushed around by every single team they faced. The Chiefs, the Steelers, whoever it was they faced always pushed them around because they always went for speed over size. But in 74 and 75, they went back-to-back, losing both times. And then obviously 4 times in a row, you had the Bills. So mathematically speaking, what are the chances of both teams making it back, the team that lost and the team that won, when it's happened exactly 0 times before that the same two teams have met. Is it impossible? No, anything's possible. But is it likely? It's obvious what's more likely. The thing that has happened is much more likely than the thing that has never happened. That's how probability works, people.
I hear you, Bill, and Thomas is agreeing with you. But I feel like some trends are meant to be broken. And I feel like when I look at both of these teams, like, I don't think it's a stretch to say that when you look at both of these teams, they have the best rosters in their conferences, right? And just for me personally, I firmly believe that the Chiefs are going to make it back. The Bucks, I have a little bit of doubt, but if you're asking me if it's a question of neither or both, I'm going to take both, just because I think the Chiefs are that good. And really the only team I see giving the Bucks some problems, don't kill me, is the Rams. I think Matthew Stafford is going to play very well in Los Angeles this year. But
Forgot about the Rams.
moving on,
Well,
everyone. Go ahead, Bill.
I was going to say the real enemy of both teams is injuries. I mean, both teams, as much as we brag about depth, 1 or 2 injuries to key players, and those are very different teams.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, guys, it's that time. Go ahead and throw up your 4s because it's time for the fourth quarter.
I haven't done this in a while.
Alrighty, so it is time for the fourth quarter, coming to an end here, and make sure you guys check out our NFC preview show, which will be coming on right after No Huddle goes off at 9 o'clock. Make sure you guys stick around for that. A bunch of great content there for you guys. It's time for, like I said, the second half. We're gonna have fun. So, second half, fourth quarter. My question to you all is: give me your bold prediction for this season. And by bold, I will give you an example. I will give you mine. I am a firm believer, like I said, that some trends are meant to be broken, that records will stand for some time, but eventually they all fall. We have the playoffs extended. Now 7 teams make it in each conference. I believe the NFC West is the best division in football, and it's not even close. I believe every team in that division will win at least 10 games, and I believe every team in that division makes the playoffs. That is my bold prediction this year.
Okay.
Did I set the bar high enough? Okay.
Okay.
Bill.
Okay. You had me with the second and last point. Yeah. We all knew there was the best division in football. Yeah. Go ahead.
You're up first. Bold prediction for this season.
Sure. So everyone's excited about lots of players. But the player that I believe will lead the NFL in rushing and rushing touchdowns is Jonathan Taylor, running back of the Indianapolis Colts. First of all, he was a sprint champion in the state of New Jersey and then also ran track at the University of Wisconsin. We're talking about a guy who's 220-plus pounds who ran 4.36 in the 40. We're talking about a guy that has been super durable. People always worry about, tread on the tires. Go to the Hall of Fame in Canton, Ohio. And every single one of those guys who was in the Hall of Fame as a running back got the ball a lot in college. Everyone gets all excited about somebody who's fresh, didn't run the ball that much. Those guys don't make the Hall of Fame. Just look. None of those guys who were in the Hall of Fame were committee backs or guys that didn't get the ball a lot. The guys who were in the Hall of Fame were bell cow backs in high school, bell cow backs in college, and dominated the market share of running the ball in the pros. And that's going to be Jonathan Taylor. He's going to be a dominant running back this year.
I like that one a lot. I have Jonathan Taylor in one of my fantasy leagues, so that's good news to me. All righty. Next up, Malik. And please don't tell me the Falcons are going to go to the Super Bowl.
Dang, man. Kidding.
He would win for bold, though. I mean, that's how you win.
Absolutely.
That's very bold. That's very bold.
Now look, I don't have the Falcons going to the Super Bowl for my bold take, but I do have another team that's going to the Super Bowl. I know we just had the whole conversation about the Bucks and the Mahomes and all this other stuff. Look, America's team, guys. That's all I gotta say. America's team is going to the Super Bowl. Let me tell you why. First of all, I was highly motivated on Hard Knocks. I watched all 3-4 episodes. Highly motivated. I love what I saw. I'm a big underdog guy. I'm a guy. I love Dak Prescott. Okay, I'm a big Dak Prescott fan. And before he got hurt last season, was balling, complete balling in my opinion. He was on pace maybe to even be MVP. I know it was a couple games, but he was putting up big numbers. He's gonna come back, and I think he's gonna do the same thing. You already got Ezekiel Elliott, of course. Look, we know what happened to him last season. Fumble City. He was doing it almost every game. But we still got to remember, in my opinion, he's still a top 3 back in the league. And I think he's coming back with a vengeance as well. So those are already 2 dudes on the team with chips on their shoulders. You already have Amari Cooper. You have CeeDee Lamb, who we've heard a lot about this offseason, has stepped up. And, I mean, Michael Gallup, he's not a guy people talk about a lot, but that's a good receiving group. So the offense, I think the offense is good. Now the defense, I think is going to be even better. I think the defense is going to be even better. I know Dan Quinn. Look, he didn't have his best showing in Atlanta, but if we want to go back to when he was a defensive coordinator for the Seattle Seahawks, he did his job. Of course, he had help with the players, but I think he has the players, and I like Michael Parsons. I think Michael Parsons is going to fly from sideline to sideline, hitting hard, doing his thing. I like Keanu Neal. Of course, he came on the Falcons, but he's a heavy hitter. I mean, they have a great defensive line, in my opinion. I think this team has what it takes to make a real run. And I mean, of course, you get the haters saying the America's team isn't going to make it. Most notably, Stephen A. He's a Cowboys hater. But let's just not look at ESPN. Let's not look at First Take right now. Let's look at what's on the paper. Let's look about chips on the shoulders. I think the Cowboys have a chance to make the Super Bowl this season.
All right. Even here, I try and keep the Cowboys, I try not to talk about the Cowboys as much as possible, but sometimes they just find a way to creep into the show. They find a way to creep into the show sometimes, no matter how hard I try to keep them out. Thomas, let's go, buddy.
Oh boy, See, that was bold. It almost put me to sleep. Okay, my bold prediction. Ignore that thing right there. My bold prediction is I have the Cleveland Browns that I just touted not too long ago. I honestly believe they have the roster to make the AFC Championship game this year. We're looking at a roster that has a top 5 O-line, young offensive line on top of that. You have Odell returning along with that receiving core. Which is a very that has a lot of depth. I'm sorry. You got the best running back tandem with Hunt and Chubb. And don't be surprised if Chubb ends up getting a rushing record this year. Just saying. You have an improved defense. That you get Clowney added to the team. Jeremiah, JOK, a rookie from Notre Dame. He's on the team. And then you got Josh Johnson in secondary. You got an improved secondary, an improved defense altogether. You have a good, competent head coach. And they have, surprisingly, third place captain. Let's not forget about that. So I would think you put that all together. I wouldn't be surprised if I end up seeing them in the AFC Championship game.
Alrighty, Thomas. I'm sorry. I'm not gonna let you slide on this. This is bold prediction. Everyone would be surprised if the Cleveland Browns made it to the AFC Conference Championship game. Say it with your chest. Say the Cleveland Browns are gonna win a Super Bowl this year.
Say it. Say it.
Come on, Thomas. Say it with your chest.
I'm sorry. What was the bold prediction again?
Okay. All right. Alrighty, Keith.
AFC Championship game.
All right.
AFC Championship game for the Browns. Keith.
I came with it last night in the AFC preview show. I'm going to double down today. The New England Patriots will win the AFC East. There's nothing I can bring forth that says I can prove this. The Bills have the better roster, but there's just times when things happen that don't make sense. It would not make sense for the New England Patriots to win the AFC East because the Bills, frankly, are a much better team than they are. That being said, it was brought up yesterday. The Patriots still finished 7-9 last season, and they were almost consistently saw as one of the worst teams in the NFL at 7-9. They're only going to get better this season. It just feels like watching some of their preseason games, watching Mac Jones in the preseason with this offense with Bill Belichick, that they are due for a special season. They have not had a truly special season in New England in a while, even when Tom Brady was there. They had expected seasons with Tom Brady. They haven't had a special season in a long time. And it just feels like this is the year for the Patriots to have a special season. They're going to shock a lot of people, and they're going to win the AFC East.
I like that one. I say that's bold because I feel the absolute opposite way. I think that the Patriots are going to finish third in that division. I really like the Bills, and I really like the Dolphins this year. But Thomas, I'm gonna give you one more chance. Come on, the Browns are gonna win the Super Bowl. Say it.
See, it's my first show back in a long time, and I feel like this is made for me. Okay? Don't be surprised if they go to the Super Bowl. I'm just saying.
Okay. I'll take. Don't be surprised if they go to the Super Bowl. I'll take that. Okay. You don't have to exclaim a winner, but I'll take that. I'll take that. You heard it here first. Thomas Brown said the Browns are going to beat the Chiefs and go to the Super Bowl. Alrighty. Well, that was 4 quarters of No Huddle, and it is time for us to crown a winner. Alrighty, so we've got to send some people to the back before we crown a winner. And as Jeff Barnes used to say, just because you got sent back first doesn't mean that you were last, just means you weren't first. So our first person that we are going to send to the back today, Mr. Thomas Brown, he is the prodigal son, had a great return. However, he will not be crowned winner this time. Thomas, we're going to say goodbye to you for right now. And now there were 3. Will it be Bill? Will it be first time on the show Malik Brown? Is he going to the back? Is it Keith?
Hey, if you're checking the comments, Malik in a way has already won.
I was gonna say a lot of googly eyes from Malik. A lot of googly eyes from Malik tonight. But we are going to say goodbye to Big Dad himself, Keith. We're gonna send you to the back. And actually, you two are tied right now.
Ooh.
How do I want to settle this?
Well, I mean, there's lots of ways. Maybe you come up with, off the top of your head, one more topic, and who on that topic walks away with, the brawl for it all. Double or
Okay.
nothing.
Let's see. Okay. Because I talked about the NFC West, convince me who's going to win this division.
Oh, who's going first?
Bill, you go first.
Yeah.
Okay, sure. And this is not me agreeing with you because you mentioned them, but let's look at what it took for the Rams to not be very good before. Now, everyone's going to put all the blame on Jared Goff. Unfairly. He is a classic, quote-unquote, game manager. And when everything is right around him, he can take a team to the Super Bowl. How do we know this? Because we saw him take a team to the Super Bowl. But what they've done is they've replaced your classic game manager with a player who is used to carrying a team. It's a shock that he hasn't had more back problems. Matthew Stafford has dragged the carcass of the Lions for over a decade and finally gets to go to a situation where, one, he has a truly offensive-minded coach, right? The last time the Lions had an offensive-minded coach, you really have to go back to Steve Mariucci, which is, I think, back when Stafford was probably still playing, junior high ball with Kershaw. So he's never had an offensive guru around him. He's got offensive talent, right, especially early in his career, but never an offensive guru. Never someone who knew what to do with that talent. So you're now taking this really a top 8, maybe even top 6 talent at quarterback, and finally putting him in a conducive situation. If the Rams defense is even good, they don't have to be great, is even good, that team should be a juggernaut. Now, the big threat for them is obviously the Seahawks. A lot of talk always goes to the 49ers, but what do we know about the 49ers? Injuries. I'm not trying to be mean, but once is bad luck, twice is a trend, 3 times we know who you are. The 49ers, you're going to have key injuries. How do we know this? Because you always have key players go down the stretch. How far back do you have to go when the 49ers had all of their best players stay healthy? It's been a long time. I just don't believe that that's suddenly going to change. And are the Cardinals going to be super exciting to watch? Yes. They might be the best fantasy football team in the division. The problem is you have to actually play actual football to win the division. They're not going to play well enough in actual football situations to win the division. They might well make the playoffs. In fact, I think they will make the playoffs. It's a stacked division. But the Rams have the best all-around balance. The only real issue, I won't say it's the only real issue, the most obvious issue is obviously they've already had a key injury at the running back position. But what's the most replaceable position in football, right? I mean, I'm not trying to be mean once again, but we all know it. It's a position that smart teams don't even bother drafting in the first 4 or 5 rounds. It's running back. You can find running backs, a good enough running back. They've got good enough running backs. You don't need a great running back. So they have a terrific passing game. They have I would say above average, slightly above average defense. And I think Seattle has enough structural issues, particularly their offensive line, that they'll be able to prevail. That's my case for the Rams.
Malik.
I was going to go Rams, but since we're facing each other, I'm going to go with the Seahawks. And Russell, last name Wilson. Look, listen. Russell Wilson was balling last year for the Seahawks. And I think it was maybe like maybe first 6, 7 games or whatnot. The dude was on a historic run for a minute. So, and of course he came back down to earth. But at the same time, Russell Wilson through the years has shown some crazy development. When he first got in the league, we've known him as just a runner. And he really didn't have that much of an arm. But now he looks more of a precision passer more than he looks just a runner in general. And he showed that last year. And he's shown it the past couple of years. So I think right now it's about time to just put it all together. And he has the weapons. He has DK Metcalf. You saw what he did last year. He plays offense and defense pretty well, in my opinion. So hopefully he doesn't have to play on defense a lot. But we've seen that he has a build like a Julio Jones or like a top 5 receiver in the league. And I think, in my opinion, he's a top 5 receiver in the league. You have Tyler Lockett. Of course, he's had some injury issues, but he's still a guy that can take the top off the roof. And he has, I wouldn't say Tyreek Hill speed, but he has speed to take the top off of the defense. So you have two good wide receivers. You have maybe a top 5 quarterback. And then, of course, you have a good running back in Chris Carson, in my opinion. Of course, he had injuries as well last season, but Chris Carson has been a solid back when he's healthy. So I don't think the offense is the issue. If you want to talk about an issue, you maybe want to go defense. And of course, it's not the same defense that we've seen the Seahawks had the past couple of years. But like Bill said, I mean, if they can just be good, all they have to do is be good. They don't have to be a great defense. They don't have to have the Rams. They don't have to have an Aaron Donald or Jalen Ramsey. They don't have to have any of that. If they can have a solid defensive front, they'll be good. And I mean, we talk about the Chiefs not having a great of a defense. It looks like they can go to the Super Bowl every year. Of course, they have Patrick Mahomes in that offense, but at the same time, I think just the magic that Russell Wilson has shown that he can do throughout the years should give them an edge as well. Like the things that we've seen Russell Wilson pull out of his hat has been amazing. So I'm going to give it to the Seahawks. I think they have a good chance to come out of the NFC West.
Alrighty. Great points were made by both. But like I said, there can only be one winner. And Malik, you were the fan favorite tonight. However, you went up against the juggernaut, and Bill is going to pull it out. Don't worry, Malik. You will absolutely be on the show again and get your chance.
And Malik, it sounds like you have a nice little consolation prize waiting for you to do it.
But we are going to send Malik to the back. Bill, congrats on winning. Second episode of No Huddle this week or this year so far. Bill, FaceTime is yours.
So I want to talk about something that's been on my mind for a very, very, very long time. And it comes up every now and again. I remember in the 80s and 90s reading stories about why is it we're having trouble getting more black head coaches in the NFL, more black GMs in the NFL. And to the credit of some organizations, things have gotten a tiny bit better, but things should be a lot further along they are. By this point, this season, we're still starting with a handful of head coaches and really just a handful of black coordinators, which bothers me, quite frankly. And shout out to what is now happening with Brad Holmes with the Lions. Shout out to the Washington football team, which used to be a very what's the word I'm looking for? An organization that struggled with diversity. I think might be putting it as nicely as possible. Has Jason Wright is moving in a direction, and Ron Rivera is moving in a direction. I think that one of the most dynamic duos in terms of coaches and GMs in all of football, both young, both great, are Greer, right, a dynamic young GM, and Brian Flores in Miami. They have a chance to do something truly special. I'm hoping people seeing the success that I believe that Miami is going to have will hopefully embolden other organizations to break out of the silos that they've currently been drawing their talent pool from, which has tended to be the same kind of person over and over and over again. And before we move on from this, there was a story that broke earlier in the year about Eugene Chung, right? Former Virginia Tech and NFL offensive lineman turned coach, who said that he wasn't getting interviews because he's an Asian American. Now, the fact is that we all talk about meritocracies, and people love to say the NFL is a meritocracy. But merit is not something that is static or everyone measures the same way. Not everyone agrees what merit even looks like or what constitutes it. The fact is that there have been lots of things tried. You know, there's lots of sort of internship programs and pathway programs. But the real thing that will get this done is when people see people who don't all look like their nickname is Chip. Right? When guys who don't know their nickname is probably Chip are winning Super Bowls as GMs. And when we see guys who look like their name is probably not Chad or Brad start winning Super Bowls as, all throughout the front office, player personnel, vice presidents, things like that, it'll start to make people see that you don't have to be from the old boy network or a younger version of the old boy network to win it all. Those are my final thoughts.
Well said, well said, well said, Bill. And the big highlight of the show, we have her. She's here.
Oh, yes.
Woo,
The real reason we bring Keith on the show.
Exactly.
We got to give the people what
Exactly.
they want. She looks really confused right now, but
Hey, girl.
she is.
Well,
Say hi.
now the show is really completed. I feel good. This is
Yes.
a great show. This is a great show today.
The
All
best.
Well, make sure you guys go ahead. Like I said, thank you so much for watching today. Make sure you guys check out the NFC preview show that is about to start right after we finish here. Let's go ahead and say goodbye to our panel. Bill, where can the people find you at?
Sure. So I have a gigantic chunk of an article, which may have to break up into chunklets of articles, dropping on Around the Block Sports. You also will see my South's Notebook showing up for the first week plus, I guess, week 0 and week 1 on Nuts and Bolts Sports, including my notes on Carson Strong, who's my current QB1. You will also see some of my work showing up later in the year with NFL Draft Bible, some of the HBCU stuff that I'll be doing. And you can always find me on Twitter because I'm on Twitter all the time. For the young cats, like young Mr. Malik Brown, you can go to @B, C, ARROOO. No, it isn't. B, C, ARROLL 138 @BCarroll138 or @11Bravo. That's the word, not the number, @ELEVENBRAVO 138 on Twitter. And of course, I'll always be showing up on one of these shows. And eventually, when draft season kicks off, Jeff Barnes and I will be hosting Draft Central together.
Absolutely. Cannot wait for that. You all know the draft is my favorite time of year, so I'm going to absolutely be looking forward to you guys covering everything there. All righty. Thomas, where can the people find you at?
Oh, well, I got my different streams to where you can find me, so I'm not hard to find. But if you want to follow me on Instagram, it's @_ I want to say there's another _ Terrific Tom. And then it's the same as my Twitter, _ maybe another _ Terrific Tom again. I'm a little bit more active on my Instagram if you're trying to get in touch with me. So that's where you'll find me. And I'll try to get a little bit more active on Twitter so that I can get in touch with you guys. So, yeah. And, of course, I'll be here. I'll be here and everywhere. You'll find me.
Absolutely.
The project doesn't go away. So
Absolutely. Well, like I said, Thomas, super happy that we had you back here. Cannot wait to spend a bunch more episodes and a lot more time with you this year. Keith, where can the people find you and
Yeah, so at 5280 Keith, it's where I spend most of my time. Come here.
Hello.
I have another kid that wants to say hi.
Yes. Hey.
No free time to myself, except for when I'm on Twitter. Yeah, at 5280 Keith. That's where I'll be.
All righty. You see him. He's an extremely busy man, but we love him. He makes time for us. Thanks, Keith. And Malik, my friend, you came really close to winning this time. Like I said, we will definitely get you on. We will definitely get you on again, but where can the people follow you at?
Thanks for having me on. First of all, you guys can find me on Twitter, Instagram @ _ MalikATL. I write words for the Atlanta Hawks over at Peachtree Hoops and SB Nation. You can find them on Twitter @ Peachtree Hoops. Have a podcast @In the Clutch Pod. You can find us on Twitter and Instagram with that @name. And I mean, the reason I go to these games or whatnot is because of Crest Sports Talk. So I got to give them props as well. So that's where you guys can find me.
All righty, Malik. Like I said, super excited you were here tonight. Absolutely, we will have you on at some point again whenever you are free to join the show. It's a pleasure having you, my friend. We'll see you next time. All righty. So like I said, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so much for listening. Thank you all so much for watching. Shout out to our incredible panel tonight. They all were amazing. Like I said, make sure you all check out the NFC preview show, which will be starting literally right after No Huddle ends. And make sure you guys check out No Huddle again next week, Wednesday at 8 p.m. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next time.